Here's Shay's room, and he's a pretty good kid, and he's lost the last few summer vacations to me building this house. So I told him he could have whatever he wanted on his floor for flooring, and he picked blue ponderosa pine to match the walls. He really likes that. This is stuff we milled ourselves from. It's actually the tree that we relocated the house around, which was then immediately killed by beetles. So we salvaged all the wood and we cut up ponderosa pine. Obviously, first and foremost, ponderosa pine is not a good floor. It's too soft. Okay? That said, the kiddo knows as long as you put coasters under the bed feet, you don't drag your dresser around, you don't walk in your room in shoes, yeah, it'll last a very, very, very long time, especially with a quality finish. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. If you're considering this project, you already know how to work with wood. We started with our hand-milled boards. They were about 5/8 of an inch thick and 5 inches wide. We had a lot of troubles with the sawmill on this stuff. It was pretty badly wavy. So we passed it all through my old Makita thickness planer. And you can tell that we didn't actually take the whole thing down. One, if I got every board perfectly flat and smooth, they'd be too thin. We'd be starting with not enough meat. So we had to pick a happy rustic in between, which is good because that's what Shay liked. Then once they were flat, then I passed them all through my table saw. I ran a lot of them over the joiner first, get a straight edge, pass them with the table saw. Long story short, they ended up exactly 3 7/8 inches wide, which could be a problem for me because all of my estimates are based on them being 4 inches wide. That doesn't sound like much, but here's hoping I have enough overage. The mark on the back is to mark the back, and I more or less centered it, but because they were so thin, I left a little meat on the top more than I left on the bottom so that the grooves don't break out. But you have to mark front and back if you're doing that because they're not reversible. So that's why each board has a front and a back, and then Shay marked it. To lay it out, it's pretty simple. We had to create a witness line. So I went 4 inches off this wall. Now I know it might look like I don't have a proper expansion gap, but I actually do, because this bottom wainscoting is loose from the wall. So then we snapped a witness line, and then I came out 2 feet and snapped another witness line so that as I come out here, I can check that we're not getting crazy. And I don't think we are. It's laying pretty nicely. I am not using a proper floor nailer. I'm using a Porter Cable finish nailer, and here on the back side, they are popped along here, and then in the front side, they're nailed at a 45-degree angle through the tongue. Should you do this? It's a lot of work, sure, but it was pretty rewarding. It was pretty rewarding to salvage that tree. It was pretty rewarding to put it to use, and it was rewarding to spend time with my son as we cut it. Processing enough for this entire room, which is a fairly large space. We started 5 o'clock on one night, and I passed everything through the planer, and that was, 2.5, 3 hours by the time we were done with all of that. And then it was a good 10 hours yesterday to edge them on the joiner, and then my table saw. They had to be flipped around and re-edged on the table saw, and they all had to be passed through the shaper. So it took a bit of time. If I was buying this wood, I probably wouldn't do it. But we didn't buy this wood. We're salvaging this wood. One last tool is I made this thumper, which is really just to put down the snap-together planks that are going downstairs. But it works fantastic for this because you can slide it and tap on the boards in its big wide face. We're just getting started. Any other tips and tricks? You want to come to the center of your doorways. Ideally, when your door is closed, it'll cover the actual transition point. I don't know if this will match. I made a guess. And then this one, I just have a chunk of tongue tapped in there because sure as poop, somebody'd step right there and break that off, which would be a disaster. So I just have this tapped in lightly in order to protect this edge as we walk in and out. Other than that, the kiddo selects the boards for me out of our stack over there, and he brings them to me, and we tippity tap them into place, shoot them down, and move to the next one. It's going pretty fast, isn't it? Yeah.
This is going to be a problem.
Why is that?
One prong's higher than the other.
Nah, it'll go right over it. You should just wait and see. It might leave a high spot you have to sand, but hey, let's lay some more stuff, and then we'll do an update.
Yeah.
I do not like using short strips in the middle of the field. Maybe underneath where a bed would be, but they're perfect for ending and starting rows because you can't really stand on them anyways. You gotta leave your gap, tap it in place, tap it down. You want to always overlap your seams. I mean, a minimum of 3 inches. 4 is better. Again, this is under the bed, so it doesn't matter that much. See, this one ends right here. I don't know if you can see it. The seam is right there. This board would end right here. No, that's not usable, not there. We'll swap it out with this one. Tap it down. Now we can take this board and it fits right in place. I guess we'll show final product, huh?
Yeah.
When it comes to cutting around door trim or doorway entries, you can see I just actually Shay notched it. So we notched it. That gap's getting a big wide. It'll still be covered by baseboard. They expand and contract this way much more than they do that way. But I think the floor is going to look good. Really good. What do you think? This is your baby, the thing you have asked for from the beginning.
I like it.
I like it too. It's a bit rustic because we slapped it together, and it's made that way with a few exposed saw cuts. But I'll take my belt sander and I'll knock I'll just go along it. I hate to go along it cross grain, but I'll go along it and knock all high spots off, and then he'll hit it with that 6-inch or 8-inch random orbit sander on a stick. This is his secret trap door. So you pull that plug out, and there's a ladder, because this whole half of the house overhangs the rocks, right? Because it's built on a cliff. So this all overhangs the rocks. So, I mean, when I started this project, he was 8, 9, and I guess you were laying wood. It's been 3 years since the first boards went down, so he was 10. And I figured it'd be a great place for a 10-year-old and his friends play hide and seek and climb up and down. And by the time he's done, he's going to be in high school. So it'll be a great place to, I don't know.
Maybe 2 years into high school.
No. We'll be done this fall. We'll be in this thing this fall.
Sure.
All right, winter. We'll spend Christmas here, maybe, or not. It's not hard, and it definitely wasn't expensive. Milling all of the wood for this floor. Oh, don't count the sawmill, the drying, and the stacking, right? Because we did 100 times this at the same time. But going from our stacked pile to laying it, you are looking at 10, 11 hours work. No, 12 or 13 hours work. The only tooling involved, I have a very nice table saw. It could be done if you double check both sides of the fence on a cheaper one. But I have a very nice table saw. I have a really good, I sprung for the good forest tongue and groove set, which has just plowed along and left all sorts of nice clean edges. So you're looking in tooling. Well, I don't count my table saw. That does so many other things. So the only thing I bought special to do this and the wall paneling was that bit. Yeah, 105 or something like that for that big shaper bit. But I like it, bud. I think it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's watching, see, I made this video for me 3 years ago when I would like to know how long did it take and how much work was it. And I'm here to tell myself, in the past, once you got the wood stacked, if you look out the window there, that's the wood stacked. So, and we use the same stuff for our siding because this whole house has been sided. I didn't do tongue and groove, I did shiplap, but we cut all the siding too. But anyways, past self, you're looking at, let's call it, round it up to 14 because something always goes wrong. You're looking at 14 hours of work to getting to the point where you're laying a finished floor. It's closer to 12. I could have worked harder and faster, but no one lays blue pine floors. But here is what it looks like if you do. Here it is all done. I had one 4-foot piece left over. So note to self, don't do your estimates quite that precisely next time. There's a little bit of movement. That's to be expected, considering, this was just us cutting this ourselves, so there's inconsistencies in the wood, and they're pretty wide plank. If it had been glued down, obviously there wouldn't be anything, but I'm not sure anybody would glue down a floor like this. I realized we couldn't end this without showing you the final product. So here it is with 3 coats on it. It's pretty good. I did not get quite as even a finish as I wanted at the end, but it's pretty. It no longer moves, so the finish helped lock it down. I'd poke it with my fingernail, but not yet. This was only done about 10 hours ago. Beautiful floor.